Different councils across the East Midlands have different policies, with some having fewer checks than others. Taxis licensed at one of our councils have been reported operating from bases as far away as Luton and York. Our political reporter Chris Doidge has taken a trip through the confusing world of taxi regulation.
When you get into a taxi, you've got a good idea about where it's going to go.
That's me.
Derby, please. But do you know where it's come from, or whether it's safe? Since a High Court ruling in 2010, the issue of where our cabs come from has become a trickier one. Drivers are allowed to operate anywhere in the country, no matter where their licence was issued. And that's creating problems for councils with tough licensing rules, like Derby. It says that the presence of outside registered vehicles in the city is creating significant issues.
You know, if a passenger feels that my car is not fit to be on the road, or I'm not a fit driver, they can actually call a number and complain, and the city council will come out and have a look at my car, and they don't have that jurisdiction to do that with the cars that are licensed in these boroughs.
Figures we've obtained show the region's 3 cities issue far more taxi licences than any other council, except for one, Gedling.
We're following the rules that are set at a national level, you know, so as I said, somebody can operate a private hire taxi outside of Gedling, they can go and pick somebody up from Derby. That's the law, you know, there's nothing we can do to change that. There are some questions to answer here for the government about why it's trying to weaken the laws. We want to see stronger laws, we want to see a good taxi service, and we want to see good quality taxi drivers, and I think in Gedling we're doing a good job on that.
Here's a couple of examples of how drivers can work around the rules in any one place. This sign is banned in Derby, but legal in Gedling. And this spare wheel is fine in Erewash, but Derby says it's not suitable.
Their claim is that it's unsafe.
And are Derby unusual in having a problem with this particular vehicle?
Yes, from the 161 councils that it's been supplied into, Derby's the only one that actually refuses to accept it.
What do you think of that?
Poor.
And as well as the rules, the inspection regimes are different across the region. Some councils inspect thousands of vehicles each year. Others told us they don't carry out spot inspections.
The only people who are actually going to these boroughs to get these licences are the ones who are finding it difficult or are afraid that there's no way they're going to be able to pass the test that's been set by the panel in Derby.
More than 1 in 10 of the region's taxis and private hire vehicles were found to be unsafe in 2013. Some of them had faulty brakes, suggesting the issue of taxi safety is very much a question of our safety too.
Well, David Wilson is a licensing consultant and an expert on the taxi situation across the country. David, this sounds like a real mess. Are you concerned about it?
I would agree it is a mess, but that's as a result of having 316 councils all being able to decide their own rules as to who gets licensed, what vehicles get licensed and what the conditions are.
And let's be clear, what we're talking about here is taxis being based in one area but getting their licence from elsewhere.
That does happen, and that happens largely because different councils have different conditions. You'll have the situation that a particular vehicle will not get licensed by one authority. It serves a good purpose for the public but wouldn't get licensed by another.
So what do you think about that then? Because that seems ridiculous to me.
The inconsistency is ridiculous, and realistically there is no council in the country is going to declare that they do not license safe vehicles. There are different standards, but all of them should be perfectly safe.
Of course, that's the major concern, isn't it, for people who use taxis, as we all do. Patrick, why isn't there a national standard for taxi drivers?
Well, I think, as David says, this goes back a long time, and actually there's lots of court cases which no doubt David could sort of quote at us and quote the actual years when these happened. And one of the things that the government has done is ask the Law Commission to look at the whole issue of licensing of taxis, and it is something that they've reported to us on, and the government are due to respond shortly. It will need almost certainly primary legislation, and therefore that is something which takes time.
Can it be right that one authority has really tough, robust regulations, and drivers can just go to another one where it's more lax?
Well, I think as you showed in your clip, I mean, there are different rules about what is acceptable in one authority to the other authority, and one does have to ask some of the questions as to why that is is like that, and that's something which I think does need to be addressed.
Well, Labour are opposed to deregulation, Lillian, but couldn't it lead to cheaper taxi fares for us all? We could all benefit from that and allow more people to go into the business and drive taxis.
I mean, I think the real concern here is about safety. The government's deregulation bill is due to be discussed in the Lords on Tuesday, and we're really concerned that the government are actually making it easier to have less safe taxis. So they're taking away the mandatory annual check on licences, and they're also going to make it so that taxi firms can subcontract. So you phone one taxi firm to book your cab, and actually they can subcontract it to someone else. And the LGA did some surveying, and 80% of women said that they would be unhappy about that. So I think there's a case for stronger regulation. The Law Commission have called for more powers for local authorities to enforce taxi licensing, and we think that's the right thing. Give local authorities the powers that they want and need.
But you say that, but you know, they're already, as we've said many times on this programme before, they're cutting services to the bone. So do councils really want to spend their time inspecting taxis right now, Patrick?
Well, I think that's, look, that is one of the points, and I think we need more consistency across the board. I think we need local authorities. We don't want to see companies and people who are trying to register taxis having to go to different authorities to try and abide by different rules. I mean, this is something that does need to be addressed. I think the Law Commission report does go a certain way towards that, and there's a lot happening in the taxi world, as we've seen with various sort of new the smartphones summoning the local taxis and the like. So it is an area which needs to be addressed.
Can I?
Yes, of course.
And the deregulation proposals doesn't reduce the frequency at which a taxi will be checked. What it's proposing to do and will do is increase the duration of a driver's licence. Licences will be for 3 years. But there are new changes in technology.
Drivers wouldn't be checked as often, isn't that right?
The drivers will be licensed for 3 years, but there is now the ability with the criminal record check. It's up to 3 years.
Oh, right, okay.
The majority of councils either grant 3-year licences or offer a 3-year licence. The minority currently don't and will issue licences for 12 months.
But aren't there mandatory annual checks at the moment?
Not for drivers, no. There are vehicle licences are for 12 months.
Yeah.
The deregulation bill doesn't affect that at all.
So is there an issue over safety on this?
You now
in
have
your
the
opinion?
In my opinion, no. Criminal record checks can be undertaken daily. There is a new facility to subscribe to an update service. Councils could check somebody's criminal record every day of the year if they wish to, for the whole 3-year period. Okay. There is no need to do a check every year. You can do it every day.
Well, Patrick, this is a government idea and close to becoming legislation, but what about the safety concerns? Because the Local Government Association is against deregulation, as is the Susie Lamplugh Trust, which campaigns for personal safety.
But as we've seen, you say the local authorities are against deregulation. We've got local authorities doing different things right across the board.
Yes.
So there's different rules and different regulations in different authorities. I don't think that makes any sense. I don't think there's any clear reason why one car is allowed with one authority, but then can still drive across the authority's boundary anyway. So I think these are issues that need to be straightened up. And as I say, there's a Law Commission report, but there's also the changes that we're making in the deregulation bill, which I think it will make it easier for the public.
And looking at the Gedling situation, Lilling, Gedling is a Labour-run council. Labour's against deregulation, but in Gedling they don't have a problem sending their taxis into other areas.
Well, in Gedling, as you know, we've had a change of control at the council, and they, in May this year, introduced a local knowledge test to make sure that people who are driving in Gedling actually know the area in Gedling. Obviously, that's going to take a while to have an impact, but I think that the public are concerned that they want to know that they are safe, that their local authority can properly enforce taxi regulations. The Law Commission agree with that. It's time the government step forward and actually put that into place.
David, you have the ear of the Secretary of State. He's sat right next to you. What would you like to see happen now?
I would like to see national standards for vehicles and drivers. It then wouldn't matter whether somebody was licensed in Derby or Gedling. The standards would be the same.
And then everybody would be safe?
I wouldn't suggest people are not safe now.
Okay.
Every council will say their standards are safe.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us, David.